What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Miami. This is season 7, episode 2. And y'all, shenanigan, the dramatics, the pettiness. Girl, they even had Fabulous in here. I was tickled. I was tickled this entire episode, okay? So let's get into the review. Know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit. And I just got a few things I want to talk to y'all about. Because, girl, Julia, girl, you're going to need your hard hat this season. Because when I tell you the girls, it's going to be treacherous for you this season. Here's the thing. Let me just read the statement before I give my thoughts. Let's read the statement. So this was captured by OMFG Reality TV, and Julia posted this to her Insta story on June the 17th, and it says this: after a week later of RHOM season 7 premiere, Julia speaks out about her behavior this season and the reasoning for it. So she says this in her Insta stories. It says, "My beautiful souls, this season you've seen let me slow down because my brain is going faster than my mouth." So it says, "My beautiful souls, this season you've seen a different side of me, one even I struggle to fully explain. The truth is, just before we began filming, something life-changing happened. I was given the chance to welcome 2 incredible boys into my life. It was sudden, emotional, and felt deeply destined. But here's the part no one saw. The adoptions weren't finalized. Not yet. I was living in an emotional in-between, loving these boys fiercely while navigating legal uncertainty and keeping so much of it quiet. It was overwhelming, beautiful, yes, but also fragile, scared, and stressful beyond words, which is why I was so cautious about sharing anything about them in writing." She continues by saying, "So when moments came up like sending that strange message you all saw, I didn't always show up as my most present or thoughtful self. And when it came to Gertie, the truth is at the time we weren't in the close heart connected place we had once been. Our friendship had shifted a bit, not in anger, not in conflict, just life pulling us in different directions. So when she reached out, I was so wrapped in protecting my own emotional chaos, I fumbled. I never meant to come off cold, careless, or bizarre. I was simply in a storm of my own. This has been a season of growth, messiness, and deep transformation. Thank you for giving me the space to walk through it imperfectly, but with a full and open heart. With love always, Julia." Girl, you could have kept this. Because let me just say, like I said, Julia could have kept that. She could have kept it. But we ended up getting a response from Gertie. So this was also captured by OMFG Reality TV. And it says this: "Gertie with another post after what Julia posted via Instagram about the reasoning of her behavior on the show and her friendship with Gertie." So I'm going to play the audio for you guys because in the text message that Gertie posted, she screen records the text messages because she plays her voice note that she sent to Julia, and it was her basically singing happy birthday to her, I think in French, and Julia responded. So let me play that for you.
Joyeux anniversaire, joyeux anniversaire, joyeux anniversaire, my baby Julia, I miss you, where the hell have you been? Joyeux anniversaire. I love you, my love. I'm in LA now, but I'm wishing you the best birthday ever. And can we get together now?
Is out there,
Okay.
and she just sent me a cold message just saying congrats. That was it.
Oh wow, that's warm.
I've been a little surprised by some of Gertie's behavior lately, so I am reevaluating our friendship.
Happy news came with drama between you and Gertie.
Well, I think Gertie and I are at the best place possible right now, which is as far away from each other as possible.
So I wanted to read the statements that Gertie put in her video. I know sometimes people get distracted by the video behind it and probably weren't even paying attention to the words that she placed on it. But this is what she said. Who would be tap dancing for joy after being told to go fetch and search about their happy news online like a dog? If they claim to be your friend, and then there's the added white lie on top of the Zoom lie, claiming to be voice dictating the text, yet you're able to put custom smiley faces on it. Gonna have to teach me that trick one day. And that's a valid point, because if you're someone who does do voice notes, you can't put smiley faces in there. So that's another lie that Julia has been caught in. So the last statement Gertie made as it pertains to Julia's behavior, she brought up the premiere party and the interview that Julia did with Bryce Sanders on the red carpet. So this is what it says. And lastly, at our cast premiere party just last week, this was the vibe. Still mad at me after all you will see unfold this season, yet she writes a love letter to the fans today trying to justify her behavior that you saw and will see only after she got caught in her lies. And now doing this PR spin tour. Just keep watching, guys. So you just heard Gertie singing happy birthday to Julia, and that she sent on June the 28th. And basically, Julia responded saying thank you. She said, "Thank you, so my babe. Would love to get together, but I'm leaving next week to London till August the 8th. What are your plans? I've seen you traveling XXX." So they didn't have any communication until August the 14th, when Julia would not resend the Zoom link for Gertie to be in on the announcement of her getting the children. So on the side, Gertie says, makes a statement where she said, "This proves that last time we text June the 28th, leaving her happy birthday until her return in August, right in time for her Zoom storyline. Oops, meant her story lie. Then her and her wife treated me like a peasant at the party. Anyways, keep watching. This is just the appetizer she's serving this season. SMH, keep watching." So, girl, what transpired between June the 28th and August the 14th for you to have an issue with her all of a sudden? And that lets me know that the tweets, not the tweets, but the text messages that Julia shared in the episode were like far back before her birthday. Because if we are saying that they're filming this now, then girl, why are you bringing up something that happened months ago? Months ago to see, so she don't have a storyline. The thing about it is Julia played herself. Julia attacked Gertie because Gertie is the weakest link in this group, and we just gonna have to call a thing a thing. Most people who watch Real Housewives of Miami don't really talk about Gertie. They don't. I mean, I told y'all this. I'm not really a big fan of Gertie. I find her to be obnoxious and annoying. She kind of reminds me of Teddy Mellencamp, but that's her only offense. She's annoying. She's obnoxious, but she's not a malicious person. She's not vindictive. We've never seen her just be outwardly offensive to somebody. So for Julia to beef with Gertie doesn't make sense when we have never seen Gertie do anything in the past 3 seasons to anyone, like just like pointedly, you know? We haven't seen her do that, you know what I mean? So I'm just kind of like, girl, yeah, you just want to beef with her because she don't want to talk about this adoption. And just because you don't want to talk about it doesn't mean people aren't going to question it, because of what Julia is doing to Gertie, I saw so many people coming to the same conclusion that I came to, which was, you don't want to talk about them kids, so you beefing with Gertie. But now that I see that this beef is a lie, I'm going to focus in on what you don't want me to talk about. And I saw so many people being like, well, maybe something about that adoption is funny. Now, I'm going to be honest. I told y'all in my review, I thought it was kind of like, that they were able to adopt not 1, but 2 kids. And there are 3 reasons, well, that's 4, 3 reasons why they would have issues adopting: their ages, their sexual orientations, and the fact that Martina has been sick with cancer not once, but twice. Like, a lot of adoption agencies, especially in America, are very religious. They are. And a lot of them will not give kids to older women, especially people who are part of the gay community, and especially the people who have disabilities. They just won't. Now, do I disagree? Yeah, I do. Because there's a lot of parents out here who are a part of the LGBTQIA community and they raising their kids just fine and their kids are happy and healthy. There's a lot of older parents raising their kids and the kids are happy and healthy. And there are a lot of parents that do have disabilities raising their kids and the kids are happy and healthy. But when it comes to adopting like children, those three things are a lot of obstacles for a lot of families. So I'm like, why would you then get on here and tell us that the adoption wasn't finalized? So now you got people being like, something about that ain't right. When you just should have just been like the funny, kooky lady. Well, I never thought you was funny. I definitely think you kooky and weird. But if you would have just played into that this entire season, people wouldn't have worried about the adoption. But the fact that you're coming at Gertie and Gertie has receipts. Mind you, she captioned the receipt that she posted with this saying, don't start a storm and then get mad when it rains. The grace period has expired. Hashtag RHOM. And Stephanie, the new girl, liked it. So it looked like Stephanie and Gertie are cool. And girl, you played yourself, Julia, and it's going to be a rough season for you. Because the clip I just saw of Julia and Gertie getting into a next episode and how Gertie was like, telling Julia to get away from her and telling her to go on somewhere, and Julia was in her face being like, you're gonna spit on me? You're gonna spit on me? You're the one being antagonistic while this lady is telling you to back up off her. Yeah, we're gonna be on your neck. We're gonna be on your neck. All right, I know I am. So next, let's talk about Alexia. So Alexia and Marisol were on Watch What Happens Live, and Alexia confirmed that her and Todd at the moment are not together. But let me play that clip for you guys.
What is your current relationship status with Todd?
So currently, I thought you were going to pass it to me. So currently, we're not together.
You're not together?
We're not.
Okay. You're not together. Okay. I have some follow-up questions for you, Alexia. When were you last intimate with Todd?
That's really intimate.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
In the last few months?
No, like the last few days.
Okay. Now, I'm recalling that about 30 seconds ago, you said you're not together.
Well, today's Wednesday.
Okay.
Right. And so, yeah.
That flips on a dime, Andy.
Oh, wow.
It's daily.
Okay,
So
what is it about Todd that makes it's so difficult to split up with him?
You're going to have to watch the whole season.
Well, I did.
He already did.
I did.
He's our boss.
I still don't know the answer. But you know what happens is that you're going to see like highs and lows in my relationship and in my journey. You guys don't get to see the full story.
I don't know what type of magic Todd got between his pants or if Alexia is really hurting for money. But girl, I don't know how you was dragging him on this episode and now you're just like, well, it's Wednesday. We could get back together. Alexia, stand up immediately. Stand up right now. Because, girl, this is sad and pathetic. Girl, get up. Get up. So the last thing we want to talk about is Larsa and Lisa. So if you saw the preview for next episode, there's going to be a scene where Larsa talks about how her and Lisa were cool for a moment after what happened in Milan. And then next thing you know, Jody got really mad at them and was going off on him and Lisa. Her and Lisa. And then she was like something about him being like bugged out. And Julia was like, well, let me see his eyes. So Lisa decided to pull up all the pictures of that event that night, and she's trying to basically refute what Larsa is saying. So this is what she posted on her Instagram. So Larsa picks one group picture of Jody and zooms in, and even though everyone in the album has black eyes, she's not a friend. She was working overtime to paint a false narrative. And why is Julia asking, what did his eyes look like without even seeing his eyes? Then boom, she has the zoomed in pic taken out of context, ready to go as though he was angry and glaring at me, even though I'm in the picture. So fake, it's gross. Jody was kind enough to come and support me with this and the death of my father. Here are all the unfiltered pictures and see for yourself how staged it was. Why pick that one? Not to mention, during the last scene, as they were discussing me, the person supporting me, I was absent because I was in Toronto saying goodbye and then burying my dad. Hashtag RHOM, hashtag make believe land, hashtag liar liar, hashtag receipts. Now, Lisa, let me just say something, girl. No one's saying that he was glaring. It's given that he on that AC. That's what it's given. And if Marcus was on that AC, Larsa would know what it looked like to be on that AC. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that Larsa isn't wrong for the way that she's behaving, because we'll talk about that in the review. But I'm also... Jody seems shifty to me, girl. And it's going to be interesting as the season goes on if Jody starts to play into it and we start to really see stuff about Jody where it's like, girl, it's questionable. I'm just saying. It might be a little questionable. I'm not saying Larsa ain't wrong, but I'm also like, girl, you coming out with that whole AC situation saying, oh, it was hot. No, girl, it was given, you know what, it was given snow. So I don't know. We'll have to see how the beef plays out. It does seem that Larsa is on one, but it also seems like there's something about Lisa and Jody's relationship that's not all on the up and up too. Okay, but let's get into the review. All right, y'all, so let's talk about this episode. So it opens up and we have this scene of Lisa, Gertie, and Adriana sitting down at this restaurant. They're pretty much recapping all the things that happened in the premiere episode. So, you know, they're admiring how pretty Adriana looks. She looks very young to them. They're like, girl, you looking good, you know, because Adriana is almost 60. Adriana is very pretty to me. And so she was like, you know, maybe it's the Frenchman, you know, my man, and, you know, he be giving me facials. And I said, girl, I hope you talking about skincare and not the other facial, because I said, Adriana, no. Okay. And so she is saying, like, you know, she's having a good time with him. Next thing you know, they flash back to when they were making out. Now, I'm gonna be honest, when a lot of people on Twitter were saying that they believed that Adriana paid for that man, I was like, nah, she too pretty for all of that. But I will say, you could tell he was very uncomfortable when they was making out on that couch, because when they flash back and she's all passionately kissing his lips, his eyes are open and he kind of backed up on the chair. And I'm like, either one, y'all are together, but he is very uncomfortable with all this PDA that y'all are doing, or two, you paid him and he said, girl, this was not in the deal. Okay, this was not what I was paid for. Okay, so I was just like, girl, this is a lie. I hope it's not true, because she do look good to me. You too pretty for that, Adriana. So then Gertie ends up asking about Alexia. She's just like, girl, what's going on with that? Because one minute they good, the next minute they not. Like, I'm so confused. And so they flash back to when what's it called? Alexia, Marisol, and Julia were talking, and Alexia was telling Marisol and Julia about how Todd left the house and, you know, in front of Frankie. Then we actually see this scene of Lisa, Marisol, and Alexia last episode where Marisol tells Alexia, what's good for the home ain't always good for your soul. Okay? And so Lisa basically says, I just think that, you know, she's just having a rough time right about now. So then Lisa speaks up and she talks about how, like, she's dealing with a lot with her dad, not knowing if he's going to make it or not. And she was like, even though they've just reconnected, she's trying to say very positive, but it's not looking good. Then she talks about Larsa and how upset and angry she is with Larsa because she just feels like she was out of pocket for calling her out her name and disrespecting her at Jody's birthday party. Now, I told y'all, Larsa is one of my girls on this show, but I can call people out when they're wrong. Even though I see both sides when it comes to Lisa versus Larsa, I do feel as though that Larsa was wrong for what she did at Jody's birthday party in Lisa and Jody's house. Like, you don't call nobody out their name that many times. Like, you called her a fake bitch. Then when she was like, girl, you need to leave, you went to the bathroom, which you should have stopped Kiki and said, y'all can console her outside of my house. Then when she comes, sits down, she basically calls you a stupid bitch. And it's just like, yeah, girl, you doing a lot. You got to leave. And mind you, I would have made a scene. The way I would have said, cut the music. Cut the music. Okay? And I would have unlocked the door and I'd have been like, Larsa, get up. Get up. Like, I would have made a scene. I would have made such a scene. And so I'm just like, and I also didn't like how the girls were trying to tell Lisa she was wrong. And I'm like, nah, y'all need to check Larsa. You need to check Larsa because Larsa is wrong for calling this lady out her name so many times. It ain't right, okay? Even if she is mad at her. So Lisa is just like, I'm hoping that things go well when I go to Milan, because me and Larsa's son are walking in the same fashion show, and I'm just not really looking forward to seeing Larsa, but I hope she doesn't make it all about herself. Gertie kind of makes her look like, girl, of course she is. Of course she's gonna make it about herself. It's Larsa, okay? So then we get this scene of Larsa. So Larsa is at her apartment. Her and Preston are trying to get ready to fly out to go to Milan. And she's like, Preston, we got to go, because if we miss this flight, we're gonna miss the fashion show. This is the only flight that's leaving Miami to go to Milan. And so he is like dilly-dallying, and that would have pissed me off. I'm not playing. Like, I don't know why, but flying gives me anxiety in the sense of like, I am very much like, I'm not paying for another flight. I don't miss my flights. Okay, I don't. Look, I show up to the airport at least 2 hours in advance. If I need to check a bag, I will. If I got to carry, like I put myself in Ziploc bags so I can pull them out at TSA. Like to me, I feel like I got good airport etiquette. And I am not like, I don't play them games. So I would have been on him. Mind you, we wouldn't have been doing all this packing that he was doing in the morning. The same way Lisa was packing to go to Milan. And I said, y'all need to pack the day before. Okay, put all your stuff in your bag, put it in your Ziploc bags, have your stuff together. Like, that freaks me out. It freaks me out so badly. So I said, no, ma'am. So we find out that Preston is actually interested in modeling. He is more of the like artsy and like very creative sibling out of his siblings, because the other two brothers, and I don't know about the daughter, but the other two brothers are very athletic. They play basketball, but he's not one like that. So he's actually taken an interest in modeling, and Larsa says she wants to help him out. He's going to be in this show by a designer by the name of Philip Plain. I think that's how you say his name. And he's like a streetwear designer, and Larsa has a connection with him, a relationship with him. And so, nepotism, which I'm not going to hate on. We saw Garcelle do it for her son. Do what you're supposed to do as a parent. Help your children out. Help them out. It don't bother me none. Well, it does, depending on who getting help. But with this, I'm okay with it, okay? And so they get into the car, and Lisa's like, do you think we'll see Lisa on the plane? And I'm like, well, duh, girl, you just said that, like, this the only plane leaving out of Miami to go to Milan. Of course you're going to see her, okay? Like, what are we talking about? So I'm going to put together Larsa and Lisa's scenes. So they finally get to Milan, and we see a chauffeur, like a car service outside of the airport, and it says Pippin and Hochstein. And Larsa's like, girl, we got to share a car. No, I don't, And so they're putting their bags in the car. And mind you, the way that the car that they're riding in is set up is like you have the driver and the passenger seats up at the front, but then the seats in the back are like facing each other. So they can't even like not look at one another. They have to look at each other while they're riding to their hotels. And it's so, when I tell you, I knew it was going to be uncomfortable. And I got such a giggle out of it because I knew it was about to be so uncomfortable. So Lisa says the same thing when her and Jody get to the car. She like, they ain't got no other car. Because Larsa was like, girl, I'd rather ride a camel than ride in the car with her right about now. And Lisa also explains how her and Larsa saw each other on the plane, but they didn't speak to each other. And she was hoping that they wouldn't have to see each other again. When I tell you I was tickled, I was so tickled. I said, whoever on production did this, you ain't right. So they're riding in the car, okay? Larsa makes a statement where she basically says, like, she don't really want to start no fever or have no beef with them while they riding in the car because she promised Preston she was going to keep it cute. And so Lisa's like, okay, cool, same with us. This is very mature of us. We're going to be adults in this situation, okay? So then she turns around and she asks Preston, so how are you excited? Is this your first show that you're walking in? And Preston says, yes, this is my first show. And Larsa's like, yeah, we're excited for him. And then Lisa turns around and she was like, oh, look at you being a momager. Like, you have great kids. So then Larsa ends up saying to Lisa, yeah, I do. That's why I was so shocked by the fact that you said everybody knows who I am and what I am, when what I am is a mom that has 4 great and amazing kids and an entrepreneur. That was very hurtful, Lisa. I said, girl, we're not even 10 minutes into this ride, and you about to cut up, Larsa. I knew it was coming. I knew knew it was coming. So then Lisa ends up saying, you know what's hurtful to me is you coming to my boyfriend's birthday saying that he's cheap and that he's not really like, a good guy. And we were so accommodating to you, and you calling me out my name in my house. And so then Jody jumps in and he's like, why would you say those things, Larsa? Like, I had you at my birthday. We were having such a good time. So then Lisa's like, y'all, we shouldn't be arguing in front of the kid. Mind you, Preston is not paying them any mind. And it doesn't really matter. Preston is 22 years old. It would be different if Preston was like 18 years and younger, because I consider those people children. Honestly, 19 and younger, children. If teen is still in your name, you're a child to me. Okay? And so I'm just kind of like, I don't think, like, he don't care. He know who his mama is. He knows who his mother is. And so Lisa's trying to get them to calm down. And so they start arguing back and forth. And Larsa's like, honestly, Lisa, like, I just don't understand how you can still be cool with Marcus when you see the things that he's doing to me, like in the press. And like, why would you even want to be friends with him, Jody? Like, you've only known him for 5 minutes. You've known me for 15 years, Lisa. And I'm like, the difference is Jody has only known you for 5 minutes, so he owes you no loyalty. Lisa has known you for 15 years, and I can understand you wanting loyalty out of her because y'all been friends for 15 years. You testified for her, and it seems like you have truly been there for her, because I do remember how Larsa was behaving last season and the seasons before that when it came to the divorce with Lenny. So I get why Larsa is expecting some type of loyalty out of Lisa, but I'm just like, girl, the way you going about it is so childish. It's so childish. So then Larsa says, as a woman, I don't think I would ever be cool with being friends with a man who's threatening another woman's family. And so they flash back to when Alexia and Larsa were on their date on the first episode, where she's reading out the text messages, and they do sound threatening from Marcus. And so Lisa is just like, we're doing all this arguing in front of her child, like, Larsa, you're a mother, like, straighten up. And so they're going back and forth. And so Jody was like, well, would you think that why would you think Lisa would want to be friends with you if you're behaving this way? And so, like, why would she choose you? So then Larsa said, I've been choosing Lisa for 15 years. So what are you talking about, Jody? So she's like, okay, just be friends with him. Because if you're that up his ass so much, Jody, you want to be up Marcus Jordan's ass, you could be up his ass, Jody. Because he's being friends with you to get at me. He's being friends with you to get at me. So then Lisa, trying to calm everything down, is like, there's too much going on, Larsa. Like, especially in my life, I'm dealing with my father who might be dying in a week. So then Larsa says, then why are you here? She was like, if your father is dying in a week, why are you here? And then Lisa said, what did you say? Larsa doubles down and she's like, if your father is dying in a week, why are you here? I would be in that country in the hospital with my father. I said, Larsa, that's an inside thought, because I'm not gonna lie, I asked the same thing. Like, if your father is dying in a week, why are you here in Milan? Like, I hope you getting paid for the fashion show. We know you getting paid to film, but I hope you getting paid for the fashion show. But when Larsa said it, I cackled. I said, I know she didn't say that mess. Oh, Larsa, if Lisa would have popped you, you would have deserved it. You would have deserved it. Larsa is great TV. That's why all them comments about people kicking Larsa off, I don't agree with. I don't. Because y'all be talking about how shows are boring when we don't have drama, we don't have spice or zest. And Larsa is one of the spiciest girls on this show. And mind you, this is Larsa. This isn't Larsa. Like, I do feel like Larsa is playing up her personality, but this is Larsa. And I'm cool with this being Larsa. That's low-key why I like her, because I don't have to guess what kind of Larsa I'm gonna get. Whereas there's other housewives that we have that, like, it's a guessing game. We know they're not being themselves. And I'd rather you be yourself and be a gutter snipe than you fake to me who you are. Same thing with Tamra Judge. Do I like Tamra Judge? No, I don't. But is she a good TV gutter snipe? Yes, she is. And that's who Tamra is. And I can respect you being who you are versus playing a character. So I said, Larsa, you ain't had no right to say that to that lady. You did not. This is not the time or the place. So the car get quiet after that. Because what do you say? What do you say? So then we see Larsa and Preston get to their hotel room. It's actually very nice. And Preston sits on the opposite side of the room because he is mortified with the way his mama behaved in that car. And she was like, I'm just trying to get her to see my point of view. Like, I'm really hurt by what she did. And then if your father is dying, why are you here and not with your dad? And Preston is like, well, I mean, that's their choice, and I don't really care because that's their choice. It's not my choice. And I said, he ain't lying. So we see them waiting and like changing, because we end up seeing this guy by the name of Jack, who is a global brand ambassador for Philip Plain. And so they're excited. He's like, okay, go freshen up because we got to hit the, what do they call them? I know they sometimes call like the stores in which they get people ready and where you can still buy items out of. I can't remember the name, but they go down to Philip's store and they start trying on different outfits for Preston to wear for the fashion show. I think he actually gets to pick what he wanted to wear, which was this really nice suit. I actually thought that was really nice. So we then see Lisa and Jody, and they're like talking to each other. Lisa is so over the way that Larsa has been behaving. She brings up her dad and she's just like, I'm trying to remain positive, but she was out of line for that comment that she made. Now, the thing about it is I don't fault Lisa that much, but I do feel like trying to use that in an argument, it really didn't land. And what I mean by that is Gertie did the same thing to Larsa last season, where she was like, Larsa, I have cancer, while they were arguing, and Larsa kept going. And I think Lisa did the same thing where she threw that out there to get Larsa to like stop going so hard at her and to calm down and to be nice or to be empathetic. Or I think it's empathetic, to be empathetic towards her. And Larsa was like, no, I'm gonna keep saying what I want to say. And so I need the girls to stop trying to like get Larsa to like sympathize with her when like with you when you're fighting, because it never happens. So Jody brings up the headlines and basically says that, like, I don't understand why she's mad at me when I didn't even see the headlines that she was talking about. And so they flash on the screen the Page 6 article where Marcus is talking badly about Larsa. And Lisa's just is like, they both just need to grow up, and she doesn't need to put so much stock in what he's saying, because I know she has other things to worry about, just like I have other things to worry about, just like you have other things to worry about. But she's really not being a good friend. So then we get back to Larsa and Preston and the global ambassador, and they're at the store. We actually meet the designer Philip, and Larsa brings up this story about Preston and how she's like always been there for Preston. There was one time where he forgot his Spanish book, and she actually paid the janitor $50 to let them in. Mind you, that just lets you know that Preston wasn't in with the people, the custodial workers at his school. Because I'm telling you, they liked me, but that's because I was respectful. I was always saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, to the janitors, to the cleaning people, and we even had security guards at my school. And I do remember one time where I forgot a book in my locker, and the security guard saw me, and I was like, I just need my locker. You can escort me to my locker. I just got to get this book. And he did it. He didn't make any gripes. He saw me, and I took me straight to my locker, and we walked back out, and he told me to have a nice day. Like, when you get in good with the people that work at your school, you can virtually do whatever you want, okay? So he tries on the clothes. The fashion designer, his attitude, like at first I was like, you doing a lot, but then I was like, okay, this is a fashion show. He's trying to teach Preston. This is Preston's first fashion show, and so he does have a right to critique him, but it did kind of come off harsh, but that is just the industry. You know what I mean? So he's telling Preston, like, you need to walk like this. Don't tie your shoes like that. You're not in America. Don't put that shirt underneath that. Like, get it together. And so he also tells Larsa, now if he fail, I'm gonna kick yo you know what, because girl, you the one who wanted him in this show. So then he ends up asking her, like, where's the blonde girl? And she's like, Lisa. And Larsa's like, we not friends no more. I don't know where she at. She was like, can I push her down the steps? So then we get to the fashion show, and it's a legit fashion show. Like, it was a bunch of people there. So nepotism is working, okay? We end up seeing Jake, who is the brand ambassador, and Larsa taking pictures outside. And like I said, it's a real fashion show. It's a packed house. It's not no like made for TV fashion show. So Lisa is excited. She just got there. She's getting her hair and makeup done. She was like, I'm walking with the 20-year-olds, and she looked good. When Lisa came down that runway, I said, okay, Lisa, you better let them know. Okay, 40 and fine. All right. But I did like the fact that when Lisa saw Preston in the back, she wasn't rude to him. She was actually very nice towards him. She was like, I feel like I have to make sure you're okay because, your mom's not back here. And I thought that was very sweet. So then we see Jody sit down with Larsa and Jake. And so it's very awkward. Larsa's like, Jody, who, like, I'm not even about to give him the time of day. He also brings up how when they were practicing walking, Lisa went in the wrong direction like twice and almost tripped. And they were trying to make light of the situation and kind of be jokey, but Larsa brings up Lisa always falling, and they do flashback when Lisa fails. So he was like, that's what she does. So they start the fashion show, and Preston just need to work on his walk. I do think he looked really nice in the outfit that was given to him. But yeah, you got to work on that walk, sir. But Larsa was just like, she don't want him to get too good because she still wants him to go get an MBA. And I mean, I understand having a backup plan, but if he does do very well, then he can have a lucrative career in modeling. He walks around, you see them taking pictures, and Larsa and the brand ambassador, they're both like, oh my God, he looks so good. Then here come Lisa looking good. I said, with the shades and the big hair, I said, you better strut, Lisa. You better let them know. And so Larsa, being petty, starts to take selfies. Mind you, she got this bright, like the sun as a ring light, and she's taking pictures. Jake is the brand ambassador is trying to take pictures of Lisa, and she's like, take pictures with me. So they're taking pictures. Lisa notices it, and then at the end of the fashion show, she does a kiss. And the funny thing is, to me, is like both of them, we're trying to have petty moments off each other, but it didn't land for either one of them, if you ask me, because Lisa wasn't paying attention to Larsa while Larsa was, trying to take selfies with the brand ambassador. And when Lisa kissed at Larsa wasn't even looking at her. So I was like, it didn't have the same effect or the effect that either one of them were looking to have on each other. I said, not y'all being petty and it not working. Then we see Fabulous come out. So you got Lisa in her confessional being like, Larsa can kiss my ass, She was like, that kiss was for her. But like I said, Larsa wasn't looking at her. So then when Jody comes to the back, he was like, was that kiss for me or for Larsa? And she was like, it was for Larsa. And I also don't like that, Lisa, you made that moment, that was your moment about Larsa. Like, girl, you the one walking on the fashion show. Don't even take time to acknowledge people, okay? So she thanks Jody for being there for her and things of that nature. We end up seeing the producers ask Larsa, like, do you think Preston would have gotten this far without you? And she was like, no. And she was like, and she right. So then we see that there's an after party, and we don't see Preston, but we do see Lisa and Larsa. They kind of casually talk, where Larsa ends up saying, like, we need to talk, but we need to talk like when we get back home, all right? So Lisa tells Larsa, yeah, we can have a conversation, but not right now. And they both agree, like, no, this ain't the time or the place. So then you actually see the brand ambassador. He comes up and he's like, I really want you guys to like have a conversation and get back on like the right track. And they're like, yeah, we'll have a conversation. Next thing you know, you end up seeing Lisa in her confessional basically says, I'm not going to be spoken to the way that Larsa is speaking to me. Like, I've already dealt with that before. And they starts flashbacking to Lenny and how he spoke to her. And he used to talk to Lisa like she was stupid and condescending and crazy. And so they're still like dancing around in the club. Next thing you know, Fabulous the rapper pulls up. I said, I ain't seen that man in a while. I said, okay. And so he ends up asking, so what's the drama like? What's the tea between y'all? I said, not you trying to get the Housewives mess. And so both Lisa and Larsa started explaining their side of the beef, where Larsa is like, you from New York, right? He was like, yeah. It's like, about loyalty. And he's like, yeah, I do. So then Lisa chimes in and she was like, well, if somebody calls you out your name, like, what are you supposed to do? And so then Larsa is like, well, she's talking to my ex-boyfriend. So basically Fabulous ends up saying, well, friends are not supposed to be hanging out with exes. Lisa's like, I'm not hanging out with him. But he was like, but you also shouldn't be disrespecting anybody either, and y'all should just like let it go and move on and be cool with each other. So you got Lisa feeling like Fabulous is on her side, and you got Larsa feeling like he's on her side, and I was over here giggling, y'all. I was tickled. And my thing about it is I feel like he was neutral in a sense where he was like, yeah, you're not supposed to be hanging out with people's exes, as well as she shouldn't be calling you out your name. And that's when Larsa says in her confessional where she's just like, I shouldn't have disrespected Lisa. I shouldn't have called her out her name. But also that wouldn't have happened if you would have just been loyal. Like one came before the other, like the chicken before the egg. Either way, I thought it was funny. So it seems like they're in a decent place after speaking to Fabulous. And you see, I think it was Larsa's like, where's Jody? Like, I know Lisa ends up saying, oh, he's gonna be mad at me. And Larsa's like, who? And she's like, Jody. And Larsa's like, why would he be mad at you? And Lisa's like, he feels left out. And so she was like, but this is your job. Like, you're supposed to be social. You're supposed to be taking these pictures. Like, that is how you make money. So then the producers end up asking Lisa, so where did Jody go? And Lisa's like, he's a grown man. I don't know where he went. I said, to go get that AC. To go check the AC in Italy. The C is important, okay? And so she's just like, I don't know where he is. So then Larsa ends up saying, like, why would he be acting this way? He should be happy for you. He should be proud of you. So then the screen goes black and it says when the camera shut down for the night, it says the cameras have shut down for the night, but the tensions between Lisa, Larsa, and Jody didn't. So then we see a preview of next episode where they're basically telling, like, Larsa is sitting down with a few of the ladies at Marisol's, like, wedding party, and she's like, me and Lisa were good, and then next thing you know, Jody just blew up on us, and then they show a picture of Jody with these bugged out eyes, but that was what Lisa was talking about in the spicy corner, where she was like, they're trying to paint this narrative like he was being mean, or maybe he was on something, but I'm like, girl, Lisa, it's not fair. It's not looking good, mama. It's not, because he kind of moving questionably, okay? It is, because I don't understand, like, why he would be mad at you. Like, he knows you're on Real Housewives of Miami. He knows you got asked to be in this fashion show by the designer. Why would he have an attitude? Like, you know what this is. So either support me or stay in Florida. Make a choice. You could have just been dancing with Lisa, getting you a drink. Like, it didn't have to be all of that. So him being mad at her doesn't make sense to me. And that is kind of like the spidey senses is tingling, girl. Like, he might be a problem. I know the people don't like Larsa, but she might have a point. She might have a point. Because I don't understand why he would be mad at you. Like, we're at the after party. Like, dance with me, get drunk. And then we could go home and have a good time. Like, what we doing, Jody? What we doing? So let's talk about the rest of the episode. So we have this scene with Alexia and Julia. They're doing Pilates and stuff like that. Julia is not very good at it. It seems like she doesn't even do Pilates. But Alexia in there doing her thing. So they leave Pilates and they get drinks. They talk about what happened between Larsa and Lisa. And Alexia feels like both Larsa and Lisa were being very nasty to each other. And she was like, she didn't like it. She was like, I'm not really taking anybody's side. Even though you did take Larsa's side in the beginning, girl. She just says at this point, she just wants them to find a way to come to some type of understanding, and she hopes it doesn't drag out the same way that Gertie and Larsa were arguing so long. So then Alexia ends up asking Julia, so how are you and Gertie? This lady gonna say that, Gertie not her safe space, that I texted her about like the link and all this stuff, and she was like, at that time I really couldn't get to talking to Gertie. I was dictating from my phone because I had the boys in my hands. That's not an excuse. It was so easy for you to tell her, hey girl, send a voice note. I got the 2 boys with me. You can hear them in the background. That's what I wanted to tell you. I have my children. Okay, I got my adoptive children. There was no need for you to do all this runaround, Julia. You just want a storyline, and it's going like you playing in people's faces. We can tell you playing, and it's blowing up in your face, and you deserve it. Okay, and so she then brings up this situation with Gertie and Martina, where they were on Martina and Julia, I think, were supposed to go on this cruise or go on some type of situation, but Martina had a health scare. So Gertie said she would fill in so Julia wasn't by herself. So this is where the reason why I brought the spicy corner aspect into the show, or where I bring the spicy corner aspect into the show, because you can tell that Julia went way back in their conversations, because when you look at the text message, Gertie wished Julia happy birthday on June the 28th. Then the whole Zoom link situation happened on August the 14th, but they didn't have any conversations between then. So that means you dug way back into your like text thread with her to bring up this situation where she was like, Gertie made the situation all about herself, about PR and paparazzi. But when Julia is reading out the text message in her confessional, Gertie just seems frustrated at the fact that she came there to support Julia. Her name wasn't on, like, I guess the list in order to sit with Julia, so she had to eat dinner by herself. When you yourself were the ones that was like, you okayed her coming with you. And it didn't even seem like she had an attitude with you. She just seemed frustrated at the fact that, like, you, like, she couldn't sit with you. So I don't get why you're trying to make this an issue. But she basically says that Gertie is in her safe space and she don't want to fool with her. Well, she don't want to fool with you either. So then they start talking about Todd and Alexia. Julia brings up what she saw in the headlines, where it seems like Todd is in trouble with the filing. Like, he's been issued a warning by the judge because even though he filed for divorce, he hasn't acted upon it. So it's like, you just have this sitting in the courts. Like, what do you want to do? So she was like, yeah, like, we're in limbo right now. So then Julia ends up asking her, like, so what do you want? Like, do you want a divorce? Like, what do you want? And she's like, I want to stay with him. Julia's face when she was like, yeah, like, it doesn't make sense. Alexia's like, she starts crying. She was like, this isn't what if it happens, then I'm just going to have to accept it. I think Alexia is embarrassed and ashamed of the fact that she will be divorced for the third time. She does not want to be divorced 3 times. And I do think she genuinely has feelings for Todd, but it's also giving, girl, he paid in bills. Because I'm just like, it's not connecting for me how he's playing in your face and you're just allowing it. It doesn't make sense to me. Because it just doesn't make sense to me. So Alexia start crying again. She started breaking down again. She was like, I can't. I said, girl, it's too much. It's too much, Alexia. The next scene we have is of Gertie and Russell. They're actually at the plastic surgeon who did her breast. I think she says she's had almost like 4 or 5 surgeries where they took out her implants where she had D's, and now she's at B's, I think she said, because they took fat from like her back and other areas to do reconstructive surgery on her breast. And you can tell that she's a little insecure about it. I think it's her left boob that's not acting right. Like, the nipple is kind of looking weird to her, but the right one is okay. And she's like, girl, I want to, what can we do to fix this? The doctor basically says we're not striving for perfection. We're just striving for you to feel comfortable in your body. He explains that it's probably going to take at least 3 surgeries in order for you to feel okay with where your breasts are at that moment. And you can tell Russell is not okay with this. Like, I think he's tired of her having surgeries, but then also Gertie wants to feel sexy again. She wants to feel normal in her body. So I felt bad because it's like, you see a concerned husband who's like, girl, you've been through a lot. And then after you get these surgeries, you're in pain. I'm taking care of you. Like, I don't want you to go through this anymore. But then you have Gertie, the person that has the cancer or had cancer. And it's like, her skin feels differently from the radiation. Her bone density is different from the chemotherapy and radiation. Well, chemotherapy is radiation. But she's changed. Like, her hair, she's gotten used to her hair not being there. It's like she's trying to find normalcy in her own body. She wants to feel sexy again, and she doesn't feel that way. She wants Russell to desire her, and I think Russell does, but it's just like, maybe he's not showing her the same passion he had before, and it probably does feel weird because you've seen her go through all these things. You're taking care of her, and I just hope this doesn't cause a rift in their relationship, because at the end, she was like, if mama don't feel good, then you not gonna feel good. And when they hug, it feels hollow to me, because I think he really is concerned, but I'm also like, she has a right to want to feel sexy and feel normal again. And I'm just like, girl, I need y'all to fix it. I hope she's feeling better now. I hope she feels sexy in her body. I hope her and Russell are going to counseling, because that's a lot. That's a lot, And I didn't like the scene because I felt bad. Because I saw both sides, and I just was like, ultimately, it is her choice because it is her body. So if she wants to do another surgery to make sure all of this is okay, the titties is all right, then let her do it. But I'm also like, girl, I don't know. I don't know. Y'all know Gertie get on my nerves, but I do like her and Russell together because I just love the way he loves her because she deserves it. You know, black women deserve love, okay? So I don't want nothing bad to happen, but I'm just like, it's her body, but also he looked tired and stressed out. It's a lot going on over there, okay? Fix it, Jesus. Fix it. We get this sit down or this cute little home like date. It's a sushi date for Marisol and what's her husband's name? Steve. They're sitting down, drinking out of little sake cups. We find out that they're actually going to get legally married in the state of Florida. We already know they got married in Mexico and I think in Scotland. And she was just like, you know, Steve is just wonderful. And I just think now is the time for us to move forward with getting married in the States. And I'm happy for Marisol. Watching the previous seasons on Peacock, seasons 1 through 3, she done been through it when it come to men. And Steve seems like a really nice guy. I've seen people say that maybe they're in a lavender marriage. Maybe it is. I don't care. They both seem happy. It seems consensual. I'm happy for them, okay? And then I just saw a preview of the next episode, and she's just talking about how like he's my person, and she started crying, and I was like, you know what? I'm happy for y'all. You know, get married in the States, even though you married in Mexico and Scotland. Like, he just seems like a really sweet guy, and he seems to really understand Marisol, and she really seems to love him. So they start talking about Alexia and Todd, and she just said, you know, I just want Alexia to get away from Todd. Basically, she feels like when Alexia's with Todd, she lashes out. She's very mean towards Marisol, and they flash back to I think it was season 5 when Adriana, Marisol, and Alexia were beefing at that time about the guy that she was with. And when they were on their cash trip for season 6, I think it was season 5. I think it was a continuation of season 5, and they got into it. And then at the reunion, and Alexia was like, Marisol, you always forget everything. Like, girl, I'm not even listening to you. And Marisol was like, don't talk to me like that. Like, you starting to piss me off. And she feels like, now when Alexia is with Todd, Marisol just feels like she's mean. Like, she's mean and she's lashing out and she's wound up. She was like, Todd likes to like pick at her and like pretty much bully her. And she was like, I feel like the way that she behaves is because of Todd's behavior. So she was like, I just want her to get away from him and go back to being the friend that I know and love. And she was like, and since she hasn't been with him, it's kind of like I'm back to seeing who I became friends with, who I fell in love with as my best friend. But girl, that don't live long because we know that lady is on an on-again, off-again relationship with that man. And I don't get it, Alexia. I don't get it. The last scene of this review is going to be about this sit down with Alexia and a few of the girls and Johnny. So we saw Johnny during the rebooted season. We seen him since season 4, and he's basically like Alexia's adopted son. He's the same age as Peter, but she hasn't seen him in a while because he moved over to Madrid. So she is having this sit down with him because he's in town. She also invited a couple of his friends, and then a few of the girls. The only 2 girls that weren't invited were Gertie and Adriana. And Alexia says she didn't invite them because she didn't want them to make it about themselves. But girl, you made this whole dinner about you, not Johnny. And it was supposed to be a celebration of Johnny. She wanted to thank Johnny because when the news broke about her relationship with Todd and the divorce, Johnny said, why don't you just come out to Madrid and come hang out with us? Like, why don't you come kick it? And mind you, Johnny's friends were actually cute, especially the one with the blue shirt with the curly hair. I said, okay, he kind of cute. So basically, we see the rest of the girls. Johnny sees his friends. He's actually surprised. They hug and they laugh. And then they start talking about, why do you like Madrid so much? And I think one of the guy friends said the dick, the penises. And I think someone said, yeah, the uncircumcised one. So they all start joking about uncircumcised penises. And then Marisol said, if I came back and another like, I will want a dick. And I was like, no, penises are ugly. Well, some of them are beautiful, but for the majority of them, they look ugly to me. You know? Especially when a guy sends you a dick pic and it's unsolicited and it's just flopping over and it's like, you couldn't pose any better for me? Ugh. You know? So they start talking about Todd. And Kiki ends up saying how, this Alexia is not an Alexia that I'm used to. The Alexia I know is very strong. She's very stubborn. She sticks up for herself. But when it comes to Todd, it's something else. And she was like, I know love make you do stupid things, but this is different. This is out of the norm for Alexia. And Alexia is just sitting there like, we haven't moved on the divorce, because I think someone ends up asking her, so how is it going? She was like, there's no movement. And the judge is just kind of like, what are you going to do? Like, did you just put in this like filing for divorce just to play games? Like, you have to make a move. And so she basically ends up explaining how Todd didn't like the show. He didn't like Real Housewives of Miami. She says in the beginning he actually liked it a lot, but then he started not to like it because he didn't have the control. Because, you know, after a while, everyone starts to like critique your relationship. We either feel like your husband is scamming, he's cheating, he don't treat you. Like, we start to like look at your relationship with a microscope, and Todd didn't like that. So Alexia said while they were in therapy, she ended up telling him that like she would like leave the show if that would make him happy. And he ended up saying, well, it's too late for that now. And they were like, see, he trying you. He is trying. And mind you, Alexia, if you left this show for that, I would have lit you up on the internet. Like, don't you ever give up a check for no man. Okay, this is a good check. Okay. Oh my God, when she said like she agreed, because she was like, I thought he was the love of my life. The love of your life would not make you give up good money. You are only filming for 6 months, making almost $500,000, because I don't know how much Miami Girls is getting paid. But like, all you have to do is look pretty, argue with a few of your friends, and get drunk and eat good food. And he wanted you to give this up, girl, you crazy. And I'm glad you didn't do it. Because, girl, don't play with me, Alexia. And so the friends are like, see, he just wants to control you. And the one friend that I thought was cute was like, girl, if you walk like a duck, quack like a duck, sis, it's a duck. It's a duck. It's a duck. So Marisol's in her confessional saying like, oh, I see Todd's play now. He's purposely trying to be nice to her because we're filming now, and he doesn't want her to talk negatively about him, and I don't like that. And I said, clock it, Marisol. So next thing you know, Alexia starts to get frustrated, where she was like, everything is fake. Like, the apartment is rented, the cars are rented, everything about you is fake. I don't have my name on anything. And I'm like, Alexia, if everything's fake, and that means Adriana was right, then girl, why are we holding on so desperately to this man? Like, what is happening? What is happening, Alexia? Like, what is happening? So then they're like, Alexia, why are you letting him do this? Next, you know, she started crying again. She was like, I don't know, because I am so struck. I don't know. I said, girl, is it money issues? Like, are you that bad for money? You got to stay with this man? Like, he paying the rent and stuff? Because I think she said he is paying for their apartment. Maybe that's what it is. But Alexia, stand up. Stand up. Because, girl, you are pretty. You are pretty. You old, but you pretty. There got to be some man out there that you can, you know, shimmy your titties at and get your rent paid. There has to be. And maybe it's, but like, I don't get it. I don't get it, Alexia. So she starts crying. And they're like, so what do you want to do? She was like, girl, the ball is in his court. Like, I'm not moving because he wants me to do something. Like, and then he makes me feel crazy. And then Marisol's like, girl, because he's a narc. He's a narc, and we've all had narcissists in our lives. So then, next thing you know, Julia says, you know, it's just weird because I see Todd, and he seems like a nice person, and I see you guys at a restaurant together, and you seem so happy. But then I start to remember what you told me about how he was moving and Frankie and hurting Frankie. And then everybody's at the table like, yeah, he crossed the line with that one. And Alexia's like, you know, my kids are everything to me. And then she's like, fuck him. She gets so mad. She's like, F him, because you messing with my kids. And I'm done. I said, but you're not done. You're not done. I said, oh my God, Alexia. So then Marisol's in her confessional saying, like, this is what I want to see. I need her to stay here. And we move forward. You're beautiful. You're smart. You don't need this man. So then Alexia is just like, it's crazy because she had that moment of like, yeah, F him. And then they all toast. And then next thing you know, she just gets so emotional. She's like, I'm just so mad at myself. And she starts breaking down again. And I said, Alexia, you are taking me through too many emotions. Like, when I tell you I was gagging, I was like, girl. Because she screamed and then she started crying. I said, Alexia. When I tell you nobody's going to give us a performance like Alexia Napala, that's why she stays on this show. Because I said, shenanigans. This is shenanigans. And I loved every minute of it, okay? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Alexia is doing. I don't know if Todd is paying her bills. I don't know if she's afraid to get divorced again because this will be her third divorce, and you know she's a lady of a certain age, and you know divorce, especially in other communities, is like it's stigmatized so badly, and maybe she feels like she's damaged goods and she can't get nobody else. But I'm like, girl, don't nobody care about that no more like that. Because I'm gonna be honest, I would not be surprised if it come out that Todd scamming. That money is funny, and we're gonna have to give Adriana her props. She may get on my nerves, but she clocked it. She clocked it. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and subscribe and like the video, okay? And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.